The UK should totally stay in the EU because in history, time and again, it's proven that migrants are needed to help the economy.
I don't really know too much about it. I don't explicitly know the pros and the cons for if we was to leave or stay in. That might just be my own ignorance, but I do think it's a problem with the media. They haven't really explained it too well. I don't really like change. Change is usually pretty bad. And I hear our economy might be challenged.
So I think that there's a lot to consider in this debate, but one fact that recently influenced me was I read that Britain paid a net contribution of 8.5 billion to the EU budget, which is 7% of what the government spends on NHS each year. So I think that if we were outside of the EU, it would be immediately cost effective. Also, I think it means that when we travel abroad, every time we go, we get a stamp in our passport.
When the big EU referendum comes around, I will be voting to stay in the EU. We benefit so much from being in the EU. We can trade with countries a lot easier, us being part of the European Union. We're the second highest import-exporter in the world, and if we were to leave, then we'd be like 50th, 60th, and that's no good to anyone. The Erasmus grant. Being in the EU means that grant is partly paid for, so anyone who wants to go on a year abroad can do so a lot more easily. And on top of that, border control. We can go on holidays to these EU countries whenever we feel free, and it's a lot easier to go in and out of these countries, and we would lose out hugely if we weren't to be in the EU.
UKIP's argument for leaving the EU is that it will allow the UK to have greater control over its borders, which will in turn allow greater opportunities and more jobs for British people. However, this argument is somewhat flawed because so much of our economy relies on migrant labour, and immigrants come over here and they work and they pay taxes. And when we compare that with the state of the benefit system as it stands now in the UK, where a high proportion of people aren't paying taxes for the public services that they claim immigrants are taking away from them.